I am so glad you decided to join us today. This is the Words for Life podcast, where we share perspectives, principles, and testimonies that will positively impact your life. Welcome to episode 15, and I'm your host, Terrence Farrell, aka T. Farrell. And before we get started, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Sean Thomas for starting me off on this journey. Sean Thomas, my business partner, had him on last week and the week before, but before this podcast started, before episode 1, I was the co-host of the Be More Today show. Now, Sean asked me to be the co-host. Yes, I'm his business partner, but he didn't have to ask me. I had never hosted or co-hosted a podcast before. I had never been on a podcast before. So he had faith in me. I just wanted to give him a quick shout out. Thanks, Sean. I'm 15 episodes in on the Words for Life podcast. And that's in part to Sean having faith in me. Also want to give a quick shout out to my wife for her support. A lot of times things pop up and we want to start some new things. We got some new things coming out soon. But the resources sometimes look a little thin. And my wife, she's famous for saying, well, if it makes sense, let's do it. Let's just do it. We'll find a way. And I'm like, whoa. Let's think about it. We might have to plan a little bit. But she just jumps right in. And I just wanted to publicly thank her for her support. Thanks, Veronica. My guest today is Pastor Edward Jordan. I was actually introduced to him through a mutual friend, Karen Farnham Williams. She had heard a sermon that he preached, and she said, if you're still doing Words for Life, you need to check out this sermon. And I did check it out. He's actually on Words for Life Volume 3, and it's a blessing. I just love the way he breaks down scripture. But just in case you don't know who Pastor Edward Jordan is, I'm gonna give you a couple of bullet points. I'm not gonna read the whole bio. So he started preaching at the age of 12. He was licensed at the age of 17 and ordained at the age of 21. He's currently the youth pastor at Allen AME in Queens, New York. He's married and has a son. What prompted this invitation was a sermon that I just heard. He preached on October 11th. The title is Ready for What's Next. I'm going to put the link in the notes. So if you want to check, you should check that out. It's really hot. But he preached a sermon, Ready for What's Next. And I had to give him a call and say, if you had time, would you come on? He said yes. So without further ado, let's jump into the discussion that I had with Eddie Jordan. Like I said, I got my good friend Eddie Jordan, and forgive me, y'all. I'm not being disrespectful. I know he's Pastor Eddie Jordan, but our relationship just, it allows me to call him Eddie. If you don't have that relationship, don't call him Eddie. Call him Pastor Eddie Jordan. But Eddie, how you doing, man? How you doing?
Good. I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing good. Trying to do as best as I can in this season.
Yeah, man, it's a crazy season. It is. How you and your family doing with all the whole COVID-19 or all the adjustments and all of that?
Man, I feel like that's such a loaded question. I mean, if to sum it up, if I can, right? For the most part, we just kind of been taking it one day, 1 week at a time. Trying to figure out how to balance it all. And so, because we have I guess he's not technically a newborn anymore, 10 months old. But because, we've been trying to, keep him safe and trying to figure out the balance of what we can and can't do and that kind of thing. But, other than that, just really kind of taking it day by day, you know what I mean? And going through, I think, all of the ebbs and flows that a lot of families have been going through in this season, figuring out the time together, time apart, balanced and being in the house all the time and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we come out of it eventually, man. I can't even put a time limit on it. I don't know what's going on. But it's interesting enough, man. I was going through YouTube as I do. I go through sermons, and I came across one of your sermons, and that thing hit me, man. It was a sermon you preach, ready for what's next, which I think is so key for this time. Yeah. And one of the things you mentioned that caught me was that some successes won't happen until you face your failures. I was thinking, why do we need to face our failures? I mean, whatever we did is behind us. Whatever I learned. Why do I need to do that to experience some successes? So if you could break that down a little bit.
Absolutely. So, one of the things I think that was really powerful about, for me at least, about where Moses fell was it was a little bit different than how I think sometimes we look at our failures, right? Like, you say, okay, I went into a bad deal. I didn't make the right decision. I got messed up, but I'll just try it again next time. Or, you say I failed at a test, or, didn't make the grade that I wanted to make, or whatever that is. But it's different when your failure impacts other people, or you talk about how you fail others. And so in the story, his failure resulted in another man's death. What I'm saying? And I think it's harder sometimes to face, those failures when you talk about other people being casualties, when you broke a promise, when you didn't show up for someone else, when someone else had to suffer because of what you did and you kind of walked away, but somebody else is still left picking up the pieces. And so, I think it's really powerful because a lot of times that kind of trauma, that kind of guilt, that kind of shame, it's like, I think that if you don't deal with that, you end up going into this place where you can't show up as all that you are for whatever is next in your life. You know what I mean? Because you're always going to be hiding and concealing and keeping a piece of yourself, hidden because of that guilt and shame. If you just move on and never really learn to face and own and really deal with like the emotional internal work that comes with facing, those types of failures.
Now, there's also another set of people that, they have those set of failures, because I was one of them, and they push it so far down, they don't even think it's an issue. Like, dude, I was rolling along. It's like, it's not an issue. That was so far back. That was 20 years ago. I was wrong, but you know what? Today is today, and you just keep moving. And for me, I didn't think it affected me at all. I really didn't. And I don't know if you could talk to some of that, whereas you're moving along and you don't think it's an issue.
No, for sure. I mean, like, I think that sometimes there's this, and I don't know if it's cultural, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I lately I've been trying to stay away from the whole thing of like, this is what goes on in the Black community alone. But, so I don't know if it's cultural, but I do feel like, sometimes there is this responsibility that we feel like we have to keep showing up, to keep moving forward, to be strong, and especially if you're a man, right? And then depending on what your responsibilities are, it's like you can't show weakness, whatever that looks like, whether that's crying, whether that's taking a break, whether that's saying like, oh, I'm tired, right? We just, we have to push through it. And so, I think that a lot of that pressure keeps us from being able to pause and take a moment just to look at some stuff and say, man, this has really affected me. You know what I mean? Or just to examine sometimes, like, for example, there are moments for me where as a brand new father, you know what I mean? I have to take a moment to say, am I doing something that I don't want to repeat? You know what I mean? As a father, right? You know what I mean? And it takes the time just to be able to pause and just to look at your life like that and say, okay, even though there's this responsibility for me to keep going and to show up, like, I got to do this for me. You know what I mean? I got to take a moment to really just examine myself to make sure I'm good.
Right. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Another key that I want to bring up, which is probably going to expose me a little bit, but it is, but I'm good with it because I think it's going to help somebody. I was moving along like I'm good. And God had to pull my coattail. And that's when you're in relationship with God, like, because I'm doing this podcast now, I'm about to, you know, pop off some new things with Words for Life Ministry. And God was like, you know what? I need you to take care of this before you keep moving forward in your ministry. I need you to call your ex-wife and say sorry. Wow. And I was just like, what? That's 20 years ago. That's like, y'all been married 25. So that's over 25 years ago. Wow. And it was like, yo, call her, say, I'm sorry. I know it was my fault. You know, the reason why the relationship broke up. Cause I ignore, like, when youth come to me, they go, yo, so, you know, what happened? And I'm like, yo, dude, it was all my fault. Like, I was but I don't think I've ever told her that. Wow. And I woke up one morning and just out the blue, and God was like, you need to give her a call. I'm like, give her a call. Like, that's weird. Like, but I did it. I did it, and emotions came out, you know, and we resolved it. And she never held nothing against me before, but once I said, I'm sorry, I know it was my fault, all of the stuff came out was just like, you really did hurt me. And, you know, your mom thought this of me, like thought it was me, and it was really you. And, you know, and it was, so when I heard that part of the sermon, I'm just like, yeah, but it wasn't anything that I said, you know what? I looked at my life. I got to go back and do it. God had to go, hey, I want you to take care of this. Yeah.
That is such I think that's such a dope point in that, you know, where like that I didn't even, you know, touch on and think about until you just said it. But like that sometimes it's not always just about you, but you have an opportunity to gift somebody else and help somebody else with your, you know, facing those things. You know what I mean? That someone else gets something out of it too. It's not just for you to move forward, but maybe they're waiting for it as well. So that's really crazy. That's really powerful.
Yeah. It was bananas, man. It was bananas for real. God is awesome. Wow. You also pointed out another interesting point that I never thought about. You said Moses, when he's talking to God and he's saying, nah, I don't want to do it, he never brought up his past. He never said, you know what? I killed somebody back there. You know, are they good with that? And he never brought up the future. You brought that up in the sermon, that he never said, well, how do you plan to do this? Like, is this really, he just said, okay, where I am now, I can't talk or whatever. Why do you feel that's so key for people now being ready for what's next?
Honestly, like I think so many times, you know, in a season, and let's take COVID for instance, right? Like you can get so caught up in a pattern, right, and creating, you know, certain rhythms in a certain season to where it just becomes difficult for you to move, you know, when things change, right? It's like, you know, if it takes 21 days to make a habit, how many habits have we made over the season, right? Like you can just think about all the things that we've been consistently doing that, you know, potentially may not work in the next season. You know what I mean? Like they may only work right now. I'm like, I got up at 11 o'clock today, you know, and I got up slow, chilling, you know what I mean? But it's because I didn't really have anywhere to go at that moment. But, you know, it's like, but if that becomes a pattern, what does that do for you in the future? You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's so important to analyze those things because, you know, we can really get stuck, you know what I mean, in a holding pattern where we are currently to where we don't even realize that it's crippling us, you know, or making it worse for us moving forward. So, yeah, that's why, you know, I think it's so important to be able to have that moment to say, like, what are the things that I'm comfortable in right now? And like, could this work? Like, is this something that's healthy for me to stay in? Or is this just something I develop right now, you know what I mean, that may not be good for me moving forward? Yeah.
Right. So now your advice for, because I'm probably, now that you said, I never thought about it that way. It takes 21 days to make a habit. So what habits have I created? Yeah. What kind of advice would you give to people to kind of look at, to have when you zoom out and go, wait, let me look at what kind of habits, because like you said, we're just doing. Yeah. We're just going. Oh, this happened. Okay, I gotta wear a mask. Okay, I always put on my son. I got a 3-year-old. And he's like, Daddy, where's your mask? And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Okay. And so now it's just habit, mask. And, you know, hopefully, you know, when masks are not available, you know, right. You know, but that's not even one of those habits but other habits of waking up late or eating whatever I want to eat because it's in the fridge or, you know.
Yeah. It's, you know, I think I think like I'm a really big advocate for talking to yourself, right? And in a moment where I would say like, I believe that I'm on the crazier side. I invite people into that space too, but I just think that it's so important, you know what I mean, to really do introspective work, like to really take some time, interview yourself, like just ask those questions, take a moment to examine, how do I feel about this? Where am I at right now? Is this serving me? You know what I'm saying? Because I also believe this too, that most people, relatively speaking, I hope this is not a generalization, but I think most people, when you are doing something that's not good for you. You know what I mean? Like if you were honest with yourself, you may never tell anyone else, you may never admit it in public, but you know yourself when something is working for you or when it's not, and so the biggest encouragement I have is just be honest with yourself, and ask those hard questions about where you are, to really say, is this really good for me? Am I really doing something that is healthy for me? Or am I just doing something to hold me over? Is this a relationship that I really should be in? Or is this something that I'm just having fun with right now? And if we're honest with ourselves, we know the answer, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's a piece of where it starts.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Good advice. There's another part of the yo, dude. This sermon hit me on so many levels, man. It was God spoke to you, man. It was what's up. It was really cool. Another thing you spoke about was embracing what's next, or not embracing what's next because we don't want to forget about what was, or we don't want to let go of what was. That I think was really powerful. And I don't know, speak to that a little bit, because I don't know how we can change our perspective of what the past was, because some of it, like the past was pretty good, and some people stay there.
For sure. I think one of the challenges too, and I know particularly in church, right, and you could probably attest to this, is in just watching the evolution, right, of the church. And I would even, this is the moment where I'll throw the cultural party here. I would say the Black church. That's my experience, what I know, but just the evolution of it, watching certain leaders having to make adjustments, right, from what they're used to, what they like, into a new season of what they're not used to. Sometimes there's this dealing, and you might even see it, people might even see it in their family, right? Like, grandma used to do this a certain way. Mom kind of switched it up. I'm on a completely different tip. You know what I'm saying? But there's sometimes this sense of offense, you know what I mean? Where like, you feel like because you're doing something new, you don't care about what happened before, or like, it's almost like a diss to what took place. Like, oh, we're forgetting all about that. Like, that's old, that's gone, that's dead. But I think it's important to take a moment to honor those things, to really say like, this was purposeful. It brought us to this moment, and being able to acknowledge that. And I think in being able to move forward healthily, you like, same thing, looking back, right? You just have to be able to take that time to honor those places, to acknowledge them for what they are, you know what I mean? And then be able to put it into perspective as you move forward.
Yeah, that's true. Real good info. One of the other things I was thinking of, which a lot of people are experiencing this now, because with this whole COVID thing, things are shifting. And a lot of people are taking up businesses or what used to be a hobby and trying to make it pop off and things like, and I can speak for myself. Once I start moving down that road, something comes up and it makes me hesitate. It makes me go, whoa. I don't know if I got what it takes to do this. I don't, it's just, and preparing for what's next. It's like, what? I never wrote a book before. So me trying to write a book, that's outside of my wheelhouse. I normally do this. I play drums in church. I don't write books. It's one of those things. And how how can we effectively get past that? Because some people just go, well, I'm gonna try it, and they go, they mess it up, and they go, man, I tried, and
right.
and they ain't take it seriously.
That's so real. That's so real. It's like I think one of the parts in the story that was just so dope was where when he has this conversation with God and about the rod, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, what's in your hand, right? And he's like, a rod, you know what I mean? and God is able to miraculously transform what was ordinary to him, right? And cause him, and there's so many ways to look at it, but one of the ways, right, that I think to the point of the point that you brought up, right, is that he changes his perspective about something that was ordinary, and he challenges him to trust God with that ordinary thing in a way that he had never seen before, right? And so, I think when it comes to stepping out on something that you've never done or stepping into something that's different, it's like being able to trust God to show you what he can do with it, before all the things you think you can bring to the table. It's like, all right, God, you show me how you want to use this. You show me how you want to blow up this business. You show me how you want to, use me as a writer when I've only been a musician, you know what I mean?
Right,
and be able to trust God with that. I think that I think that's a good place to start with that one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I really appreciate you being on here, man. Real good insight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I can share. I always say, man, whenever these opportunities come up to speak and preach in particular, sometimes it's like overload, mm-hmm. And so having the opportunity just to expound, like, listen, wherever someone's gonna let me talk some more and get this stuff out of my head, I'm good with it, man.
that's what's up, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. As we bring this to a close, I don't know if there's any other final thoughts you want to leave with listeners, or how to correctly interpret this season, or anything really.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I would say that has been really helpful for me is just really being patient, right? And allowing God to show you where you fit, in this time and in this space. I think the general question for a lot of people is like, what do you do? What do you do in this? What do you do? Whether you're on the side of the person who is unemployed, who lost their job or and struggling financially, or someone who's doing really well, you know what I mean? And there's just this, it's like your wires just are all crossed, you know what I'm saying? Wherever you kind of fall on the spectrum. But there's something so great about seasons, to everything. There was a season and a time for every purpose under the heaven. My challenge, my encouragement to everyone, is just to ask God, what is this season supposed to mean for you? Because I think it's going to mean something different for everybody. There's some people who bury loved ones. There's some people who, were able to kind of kick it, you know what I mean? And they still got on planes and visited their families, you know what I'm saying? And so I think this season just means something different for everybody, and so my encouragement to everyone is just to, take some time and really ask God, like, what is this supposed to mean for me? And how am I supposed to use this moving forward?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. That's good point, man. The relationship with God has to get stronger so you can get that type of direction. That's really what's key, because he knows what's going on. Yeah. None of this is taking him by surprise.
Exactly.
He knows exactly what's going to happen. He knows what he wants you to do during this time. So communication with God, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Again, I appreciate you, man. Let the people know what's coming next from Eddie Jordan, or what you got now. I think you got. Let people know what's going on in your life.
Dope. Yeah, I'm. Ironically, I don't fully know what's next completely, like most people. No, but right now, I'm just trying to, just trying to stay consistent in ministry. I also have, started to step out into some entrepreneurial endeavors, if you will. So one of the things that I've have been launching recently, or working to launch, if you will, is this merch line called Vibeware. Basically just creating graphic wear and custom apparel that promotes positivity. The idea is to wear the energy that you want. So for all the people who desire to stay positive, to stay motivated, to continue staying up in their day, if you will. It's like when you wear it, when it's on you, when you can look in the mirror and see a reminder of it, sometimes it really just helps you to keep moving forward. So that's the drive. The website, if you're interested to check it out, is vibewearstore.com. You can go on there, and check out what's there. And, if you like it, would love if you would help a brother out. And so, nice. but more than that, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm just looking to see what God will breathe on, moving forward, and just trusting him with it. Yeah, man.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Again, also, if you guys didn't know, Eddie Jordan is on Words for Life Volume 3. He's got 2 joints on there. Dope, if you didn't check that out, check that out. We're on Apple Music, Spotify, all of it. But again, I want to thank you. Thank you for your time, man. And we'll catch up soon, man.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. No problem. I hope this discussion blessed you as much as it's blessed me. I'm going to put links to the apparel shop and the sermon that he preached in the notes, so you can find that, no problem. And if it blessed you, like it, share it, subscribe. Also, follow us on social media. Facebook and Instagram we're really on Instagram a lot. I do the Facebook thing also. You can follow Words, the number 4 Life Today on Instagram and Facebook. Be More Today, it's Be More, the number 2 Day on Facebook and Instagram as well. Also, check out our website, BeMoreToday.com. That's all spelled out. BeMoretOday.com. Check that out. We've got the Be More Today book. We've got some new face coverings, some BMT, Be More Today, BMT neck gaiters. They look hot. We got a black and yellow one. We got a blue and white one. And we also just released a Words for Life neck gaiter. So that's dope. Also, right now we just got the blue and white one. So check out the site, BeMoreToday.com. Check that out. If you like it, pick one up. You can just order it right there. Like I said, we got the book, we got the neck gaiters. What else do we have there? I think we got the water bottle there still. We also have a fitness group through Strava, and we're planning a couple of other things. Another event, you'll hear about that soon. So just follow us, keep up to date. We thank you for your support. We really, really thank you for your support. I from the bottom of my heart. You don't have to listen, but you do. And I get a lot of texts, emails, DMs saying how much it's blessed you. So that makes me feel good. That lets me know we're doing a good thing. And remember, words have power. Do your best to read, listen to, and use words that will positively impact your life. Your life.
So I am a sci-fi buff. I enjoy a lot of psychological thrillers. And if you listen very closely to the way that I approach scripture, that is probably not news to you. And so one of the things that I love to do is to go to escape rooms. I don't know if anyone is like that with me. I love escape rooms. And for those of us that don't know what an escape room is, it's basically a room that you're put inside of. It's usually a thematic, right? Some type of storyline. And the idea is that you are locked inside or trapped inside, right? And you have a certain amount of time to figure out how to get out of that space, out of that room. Right? Sometimes it could be like a falling elevator or a train that has lost its brakes or something crazy, right? But the idea is that you're supposed to look around the room and find clues, right? That's supposed to give you insight into how to escape. Most of the time, you're trying to figure out throughout this process, right? Am I experiencing an unnecessary distraction or a purposeful redirection of my attention? What does it mean, right? Why is it here? These are the questions that you kind of ask yourself as you're going around and playing with different things in the room, right? What does it mean? Why is it here? And because you only have an hour, right, or so to escape the room, it kind of adds to the thrill of it, right? It's a part of the excitement, but sometimes you can bring too much of your brain into the space. I'm gonna say it another way. Sometimes you can bring too much of your ego, right? Too much of your paranoia into a space, and you start to think that clues are clues when they're not clues, and you start to think that this means something and it actually doesn't, right? And if you're anything like me and you love these moments, but you also get frustrated because you want to beat the time, you don't want to ask for help, right? You kind of have this moment where you become overwhelmed, right, in this space, and you start getting frustrated because you become too obsessed with trying to find the clue. Here's what the game master says. Things in this room are meant to be moved and opened. But he also says, if it doesn't open or move easily, it's not meant to be. It's a very, very important instruction. He says there are things in this room that are meant to move, that are meant to be open, that are meant to interact with, but there are things in here that don't. Here's what you have to understand. If it does not move easily, if it does not change quickly, right, you have to understand that it's not meant to. And what I've come to find in this interpretation is that this game is best enjoyed when you learn how to not control the story, but you learn to play along with whatever has already been created in the room. And I think a lot of times in life we are challenged with trying to figure out whether certain moments in our lives are unnecessary distractions or if they are purposeful redirections of our attention, right? Is this my husband? Is this my wife? Am I supposed to take this job, right? Were they actually trying to throw shade when they made that comment, right? Are any of the current sitting global leaders the Antichrist? Had to put it out there because somebody's thinking it, right? Somebody's thinking it, right? Is COVID-19 really that random, right? And here's the thing. While it's good to get an understanding, the problem is that we want to define everything and give it a meaning. We want to figure it out, and we want to figure it out quick, right? In other words, and oftentimes we're not operating out of a hunger for understanding, but of a need to be in control. We should have learned by now from Eve, from Cain, from Lot's daughters, from Gideon, from Saul, that we thrive in life when we learn how to not control the story, but to just listen and respond to God as he uses the details to write the narrative. This is how the scripture teaches it, right? When Paul says, and we know that all things work together for the good of them who love God and are called according to his purpose. But here's how another translation says it, and I like it this way. He says, God works all things together for the good of them who love God and are called according to his purpose. What he's saying is, whoever's behind it, God still uses it. And if we are listening, because there's a calling, and if we are responding by loving God, we can discern how to navigate it. Because what needs to move will move. What needs to change will change. The clarity that many of us are seeking, we actually already have. So we shouldn't get too obsessed with needing to control or explain or define everything, but we just need to listen and respond. You will see God make it all come together.